I'm going to show you how to remove and install the Volkswagen Jetta. This is going to be very similar to the Volkswagen Passat as well. Very similar process. Also the same type of process as well with the, say, all the front components, the sunglasses console, the sun visors, the grab handles for like the Volkswagen Golfs, the Tiguans and all those other models. However, the Jetta, it is quite a difficult job to remove, and it's going to show you the process of how to remove it without taking any windows out. So you're going to have to follow along on this one because it's, you know, there's a lot of things involved, and sometimes you've got to crease the board slightly to get them out. So hopefully you look forward to this content. We're going to show you exactly how to do it in a two-part series because it is quite a long process. And yeah, if you're looking for the material, they do come out in like a light grey material, which is our number 7 light grey cappuccino flat knit. They also come out in a thorn type of colour, which is more of like a kind of like a, it's almost like our light oyster material number 6, but it's more of a thorny color. So that's going to be our number 8 material listed on our site soon as well. The black materials come out more in the Volkswagen Golf, so that would be number 5 anthracite. And yeah, just make sure you check the link below in the description for all our recommendations of all our products that we use. Also, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's get stuck into the video. So this is the Volkswagen Jetta, and you can see how they usually start to sag at the rear section around that rear dome light, and also the fabric does start to shrink away from those pillars as well. You can see normally where the material starts to shrink away from the edges, and another common area for them to sag is around the sunglasses console. So in today's video we're going to be replacing this one with a color very similar to the one that we sell on our number 6 material, which is the light oyster. That can work, but we are actually using today a thorn color, so that would be our number 8 material. Currently that's not listed on our site, but it will be updated very soon. So if you were to purchase this material, just purchase, say, the number 6 light oyster, and just leave us a comment in the sale in the message to seller section, and just let us know that you want the thorn color to suit the Volkswagen Jetta. And pretty much they can come out with that thorn color, I think, in some of the other Volkswagen range, like the Golfs and the Passats. But usually, most commonly, they actually are like a charcoal black, like a shadow grey, or they can be like a light grey cappuccino. But yeah, today's car that came in, this is actually the thorn color. So that's the one that we'll be using today. So we take off the grab handles to make a start on this one. Taking off the grab handles is quite simple, but it's just the bracket that's behind the grab handle that can make it a bit more of an issue, because sometimes on these cars, on the Volkswagen models, they can have like a little rectangular metal piece that falls out, and that's pretty much, it's like a nut. It's where the screw goes through. And other models might have just a fixed little metal bracket, so they never shift or move out of place. But on this one that we're working on today, it has got that little rectangular metal bracket that's inside behind the grab handle. So it's actually behind the plastic bracket that's between the two. And they can fall out of place or shift or be very difficult on the reinstallation section as well. So we have got that today, so hopefully we'll guide you through and make your job more easier. You can see where the customer has added their own glue. So once we get this roof lining down, we got to remove all that old glue that they've added, and it normally cements itself to the board, and it can be quite a mess. So don't add glue if you're trying to do a quick repair. Just do like office staples or drawing pins just for the meantime. I've seen guys use earth magnets as well, but yeah, just adding glue is a really messy option, and you can just leave the overall finish quite nasty as well. You can damage the headliner board depending on what glue you've added. Because you haven't prepped the board, you haven't removed the old orange foam usually, and it's in the attempts to try to reuse the old existing material. So yeah, moving on guys, so we're taking off the grab handles now. So I like to do these ones by hand, just so you can get a better feel of where the screw's going, and you're not going to accidentally say round it or go into the section where it's not meant to be, or bust the brackets from behind. So yeah, we don't do them by the power drill, just by hand. They are a T20 Torx head screw, so you're going to need that piece as well to remove those screws. You just pop off those two flaps that are hiding the screw. You just get in there, but maybe with a flathead screwdriver or like a little upholstery skewer, just to pop those flaps down to get access to those screws. And you want to remove them all the way. They actually are quite a long screw. But if you don't take them all the way out and you go to shift the handle away from the headlining and say it's still gripped onto the bracket where it's got to go, you can shift that little metal bracket inside. And that's what we're preferably not to try to do, because we want to try to keep the brackets and all the stuff behind the grab handle in location. So you can see how we're holding the grab handle up firm to where it's got to be seated, taking the screw completely out before we even start to drop down these grab handles. By doing these steps, you're going to actually prevent pretty much less work on the installation phase of the other side of things. So yeah, we've got just gently take those screws out. We've already done the other ones already, so you can see here we just once that screw does completely come out itself, we can just now pull the grab handle away from where it's seated.
So that's
so yeah, keep in mind there's a little plastic bracket behind these grab handles. I believe they are there for like a spacer bracket to allow for airbags, side curtain airbags, to come out safely without busting the grab handles.
So that's all good.
So majority of the time those little plastic brackets do stay seated where they are, but if they do drop down, you can actually plug them back into place. You can see there that those little rectangular clips behind those brackets are still in place, which is ideal. So we're going to come to the front sun visor clip now, and we'll make a start on that one by just popping the little tab open. You can once again get with a little flat edge screwdriver to get behind there.
Yeah, right
just be careful not to dent the plastics. Ideally you don't want to be starting to do that, or you can just use like an upholstery skewer, which is more of a bit of a sharper point to it, almost like a nail. And yeah, you may be able to get in there quite easy with that as well. So just showing you guys how we've switched to the upholstery skewer now instead of the flathead screwdriver, just so because the flathead can be a bit too thick going into that gap there, and you might damage or dent the plastic itself. Now with that popped open, you can get access to that screw, which is also going to be the T20 screw head there,
and tight.
You just want to undo that the same as the grab handle. So
of your body and
just
your
very
head
gently
undo
it, and then make sure
and
that
especially
the
when you've got to line up
out
that metal
before you
clip
pull down on that
you've got to
plastic
look
component.
behind the headlining up here.
So we're just holding the sun visor clip upwards against the headlining board.
Camera to see.
And,
that's right.
Yeah, just undoing the screw. Once that screw's completely out, then we can pull that unit away. It's probably just holding itself up right now just by a bit of tension. Or,
now the next step is
just squished in there nice and tight.
Thing.
But yeah, so
alright, we'll
come to that little. You want to get that out the way. So that's the little spacer around the rear view mirror. You just want to pop that away from where it's seated, because you don't want to get it snagged when you drop down the headlining.
That little cup there.
So yeah, just they only got a few clips in there. You just loosen them off, and then the whole unit will just pop down. You can see how it was very sun damaged as well, so one of those tabs just completely fell off, but you don't need it in place for that to sit up where it's got to go. Once the job's all completely done, that area is going to look nice and tidy anyway, so we'll just slide it back into place, and it will just, because we've got extra material there, it will just really hold itself up to where it's got to go. So you want to shift it down and out of the way for the headlining, so that's pretty much as close as we can get it away from where it's got to go. Drop down the little microphone there as well. We'll come to the the front sun visor as well now. So they have got the sun visor light behind the lens itself. So you want to check the lights before you start. That's also a good tip, guys. Just check the lights on all these headliners before you even start the process. Make sure that they're all operational and working correctly. Because if you go to remove and then reinstall the headlining and there's lights not working, you'll be unsure whether they were working prior to starting the actual job. So it's always great, just good idea to just check and make sure all those lights are working. The ones under the sun visors, the ones in the map lights, the ones at the rear, and yeah. So we'll just come to those front sun visors now. Just pop off those little tabs that are hiding the screw. Very similar to what we did with the sun visor clip. And you'll gain access to those screws behind there now, and they will also be the T20, and you just undo those ones. I like to get them in that position when I'm undoing them, because it just saves the unit completely dropping down and putting strain on the actual
the wires of the sun visor. Before we go ahead and take the sun visor the screws out, I always like to just do the sun visors right at the end. So we'll just quickly skip ahead and go to the sunglasses case now. Just pop down that shelf of the sunglasses, and then that will gain access to the shelf itself. And you want to get in there gently with a flat edge screwdriver. And there's two little tabs or clips that you want to just kind of lever the unit away from. And that will allow the whole shelf now to slide out. And the reason you want to do that is because that will gain access now to a couple of the screws and the units that are holding it in. So you can see there's a couple of slides where it clips in and slides back and then pushes up directly where it's got to go. So just showing you guys exactly the function of how that's installed. So with the sunglasses case out of the way, you'll gain access to the first lot of screws that we've got to take out. And these are usually the Phillips head type of style screw, but they can also be the T20 or T15 as well. So they do slightly change there. So you're going to need all those tools on you. And once we take those ones out, we can move to the middle section. So altogether, I think on these sunglasses cases, we have got a combination of 6 screws to take off. So you want to gently get behind this little plastic unit. They're quite flimsy and brittle, and usually just due to the heat that's building up in the car over time, they can get quite brittle, but you'll just want to gently pop it off. There's only a few little plastic tabs that are holding it in, so you don't have to get too rough with this one. You just got to gently pop it off and at the front there, and then pull those tongues out from the rear. Place that in a safe section, and now we have access to the next lot of screws. So these ones are just a T20. And they can be black or chrome silver looking as well. So today these are just the black ones. And you want to take those ones out. And then next we're going to move towards taking the whole unit out to get access to the wires from behind, and then 2 more lot of screws as well. So once those screws are taken off completely, you can just get in there with your fingertips and pull that whole front unit down. There's a few tabs that are holding it in, but just a gentle pressure directly downwards. Gain access to that wiring connector and the harness there. Just unplug those. The one in the middle there, this is the sunroof model, so it's slightly different to what yours may be if you haven't got a sunroof. Slightly more plugs you would have to take off, to be honest. And yeah, that unit there you can just get behind with like a flathead or an upholstery skewer just to pop the connector off. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So yeah, we'll just pop that one off now and move ahead. Just get in there behind with a upholstery skewer. Just gently remove it off to where it's got to go. I find that's the easiest way to take them off. You don't want to be pulling on the wires itself to remove any connectors or harnesses. You want to actually get behind the clip itself. There's a clip up the front there that powers the whole headlining. So you just unplug that. Otherwise, if you don't unplug it, just the weight of the headlining coming down may potentially break those wires, because the wires are only like tape wires that can get quite brittle. And 2 more screws we've got to take off. These ones pretty much bolt the whole headlining and that whole bracket itself to the roof. So those ones have got the metal little tags and clips behind it, so they can shift out of place. Now with that down, we can just remove the outer surround, drop it down, and we have got that completely out the way now. So we can, the only thing that's holding this car up now is pretty much just where the pillars are tucked under, and also the front sun visors. Lowering those rear headrests out of the way, because this is going to be a really difficult roof lining to remove. So ideally they might be easier with the windshields out, but I'm going to show you today that you can do it with the windshields intact and installed. So they just require a lot of flexing. You're going to have to deassemble this whole rear section as well. So you're going to have to take off these rear C-pillars. So take off that little airbag little cover there. You'll gain access to a screw. I believe that could be the T25 screw. A bit thicker than the ones we were using before. Or maybe there'd just be a T20 and there's a T25 once this one comes out. So with that one screw removed, you can now pull those C-pillars away from where they're seated. At the back section, there's a couple of like clips that have got to line up right at the far back against the rear windshield. That's why it's sitting nice and flush at the back there. So when you go to reinstall these, make sure you do line up those sections right at the back. So a bit of force is needed on it. There's a couple of clips you can see that hold the this little panel in. So once it's completely out of the way, you can see how there's a little white Christmas tree plug that goes in there. There's the screw, that big large screw that holds it in. There's a couple of tags. The white Christmas tree plug goes there. You can see it's still intact into where it's got a on the actual headlining itself. Still placed there. Didn't come off with the panel. So you can get a trim removal tool just to pop that off. Yeah. So with that unit off, now we have access to. That's the little metal clip that lines up that rear section against the rear window, by the way. So you just got to line that up. So yeah, you've got these few clips where it all clips onto. Feeds down in that bottom section, and that little Christmas tree plug you want to pop off with a trim removal tool and just place it back on to the unit before you go to reinstall it. Yeah, so there's a lot of technical stuff involved at the back of these rear Volkswagen Jettas, more than what's seen on usual cars anyway. So this rear panel, that just pops off by just getting your fingertips under it, really, and then pulling directly down. You can see how it's got quite dirty and mucky because of the old orange foam, or maybe the customer was spraying a bit of glue and got some overspray. So we will clean this panel up before the installation anyway, just to give it a good tidy up. But yeah, just get behind here. If any metal little tags or clips fall out, just place them back to where they got to go on this panel, ready for installation again. But quite simple. There's nothing that really goes wrong here. Yeah, it's just lining up those little metal clips that when you do take it down, they do fall out of place, and there are some left inside the car too, so you just got to get a pair of pliers and pop them off and then put them back on that unit. So these are the pliers that I use. So they've got a slight little curve nice on them, and then you just want to get behind that clip nice and firm, just shift and then wiggle it out. Right a bit, just to so go ahead and just scan through and take off all those metal clips that are still inside the roof, and just load them up onto that rear panel there, ready for so yeah, scan through, see if there's any more left. And then we'll move on and we'll show you. So basically now you'll just go ahead and take off the other side of the rear seat pillar. This is on the driver's side, so same thing as well. Just take off the little airbag clip. You'll gain access to the T25 screw. Take that one out, get your fingertips behind the rear seat pillar and just pull directly towards yourself, or just directly away from the rear seat pillar. And then any of those clips, those little white Christmas tree clips that stay on the actual car itself, just get a trim removal tool and just take them off and then load them back up on this seat pillar ready for installation. So there's a couple of white clips that stayed on there. This one here stayed on this panel as well, that little metal clip that goes at the back where the window is, and on the other side of the passenger side it actually stayed on the actual the car itself. So slight little modifications that's going to be needed when we go to reinstall. There's on that passenger side there, I think the clip did break off completely to where it's got to be seated. And then you'll have one screw here just to take off. Now this unit, that's pretty much all you need to do. You don't need to take off those two little black screws on the white piece itself. Now you'll go ahead and there's a bunch of screws behind where that panel came off at the front there, at the back. And yeah, you want to go ahead with the T15, I believe it is. And I mean T20 screw bit. And then you want to just take off all those little screws. There's quite a few of them, so you've got to get under there. Probably always ideal to, when you're working on these cars, wear safety glasses just in case things, little shavings of metal or plastic or anything, any gunk that's falling down is not going to get in your eyes. So it's always an important tip to wear some safety goggles while you're working on these cars, guys. And yeah, go ahead and just take off all those clips and all those screws, I mean, that are behind where that panel just came off, and then we'll move on. So now with the rear taken care of, we just come to the front, and if yours has got the sunroof, you just want to pull directly down, because around this whole cutout is a bunch of little metal clips, and if you pull directly down, they will come loose. Just keep in mind that if they do bounce out of place, yeah, just collect them. They might be inside the roof lining or fall down on the floor, because you want to position them all back on the headlining board before installation. So when you're bending these down as well and flexing this headlining away, this rectangle cut for the sunroof is actually kind of like made out of like a bit of tin or a bit of like metal that's made to the mold. So what you don't want to do is crease it or flex it at all, because you might bend the actual frame itself, the rectangular frame. So now we're going to come to flexing the headlining away from the A, B and C pillars, because the headlining only goes slightly deep underneath. So the B pillar, bugger all goes down like probably about less than 5 mil, as you can see. So instead of taking off the B pillar itself, we like to just flex it away gently from the B pillar. And that's probably the best way you can take these ones down, to be honest, because on installation it helps having the pillars in place, because it helps hold the headlining board up during when you go to position it back into place. So we've got the screws out of the sun visors, but we're leaving the sun visors in place just because this setup is kind of like there's a wiring harness behind the sunroof itself, and it can get snagged. So you can see here, there's the wires that run underneath where the sun visor is, and you can slightly see what's going on there, but yeah, it's like quite difficult to see. But you can see how the tape wire is very brittle, and it's stuck to that little unit itself. See how it goes and runs underneath that little black unit that plugs into the metal part of the roof. That's why it's very difficult to sometimes take down the sun visors without their headlining ready to be popped down, because I prefer to do it this way, where you can just get your hands underneath and then pull down the whole headlining, and it comes away with the sunroof and the bracket behind. Now I can get behind there and unplug it all. So that's the way I like to do it. But on some of these Volkswagens, you can do it an opposite way, because depending on the setup they've got behind as well. So just flex the whole board away from the A pillar. So I've kind of like pulled the board away from the front, because there was a bit of movement in the board now with all the grab handles off. And then I just flexed it away from the A pillar. So we've basically got the whole board away from the A pillar. The B pillar and the C pillars were taken off because all those screws behind the C pillar anyway. So now we want to go ahead and do the same for the driver's side. Just slightly flex it away gently from the B pillar. Come to the A pillar, move it away, and the whole unit's normally plugged in at the front there by those two massive kind of like cylinder black plugs that push up the front. So if they are snagged still, you got to pull them down directly down to make them loose. They're like these massive lugs of like cylinders. You can see them slightly in the front there. That's what holds the front up as well. So we're pretty much ready now to drop this headlining down. There's not much really left over for the headlining to come out. So you know, just scan through, make sure that you know, it's all okay, nothing's out of place. We're going to go ahead now and just unplug the sun visor lights now, or the actual sun visor itself. So you can see the assembly that we were dealing with here. So it kind of clicks into place there. You have got those little metal tags and those rectangular brackets that can fall out of place as well. But the whole black assembly just pushes up into location. So that's why it's easier to remove these sun visors with the whole headlining down, because trying to get your fingertips behind there and unplugging all this assembly with the headlining up nice and strong is going to be quite difficult to do. So get behind the clip itself and just unplug it with a metal skewer. So that's the sun visor taken off. So you do the same for the driver's side, and you can see what the roof line looks like with the board dropped down. All the components that are inside the roof. You've got the side airbags and the insulation, and some of those brackets are still in place for the grab handles. If we come around to the rear section now, you can see how the far rear section is reinforced with that plastic molding that's stuck to the actual rear board. So just keep that in mind. And that's because that rear plastic piece is going to reinforce the headlining board itself, and it's going to prevent a lot of that bow and flex you need in these boards to actually get them out the car. So we're just going to position the board now. So we're going to just bring out the rear C-wing out that rear door just to get it in position so we can come around to the front of the passenger front side, and because we're going to take it out through the front passenger door. We've seen guys where they take it out through the rear driver's side door, but we preferably find it's easier through the front at the moment, and no matter which way you do take these boards out, they're actually going to be quite difficult anyway. Okay, so here comes the nasty part, guys. You're going to need to give it that initial first bend. It's more than you would like to give them on these boards, because they just need it. There's no space to get these boards out of the car. So You want to do the least amount of bend as possible. That's why we lay that blanket down in the middle, so it's not dragging along the interior and it's actually protected the interior. You just want to do the least amount of possible. Keep it away from the door trim as it's coming out. You don't want to be dragging it along any of the interior. The middle part of the roof lining has got a slight bend in it now. It's not ideal, but you want to try to limit the amount of creases that are in the board itself. We can show you how you get rid of these creases in the board on the reinstall, because when you go to reinstall it, as long as you've used the right material to recover these headliner boards, you're not going to have too much creases or imperfections in the board anyway. But if you wanted to remove any imperfections, we usually use a combination of things like steamers, or you can use an upholstery skewer, or even just rubbing and causing a bit of friction. Also parking the car out in the sun will warm up the car itself and cause any imperfections and creases and dents in the material to come out anyway. So we're pretty confident in doing these jobs anyway, so there's not going to be any compromise in the finish. But you can see here how the whole headliner board is out of the car now, intact, and there's no issues at all. And that was through the front driver's side, passenger side front there. So yeah, that's all completely out, and you can see no damages to the board. This is one of the most difficult jobs to remove anyway, so we made it come out quite easily and quite neat and tidy anyway. You can see some slight little hairline fractures in the board, like little tears. We can repair those during the recovery stage. You can see here how behind the material has gone all old and crumbly and orange. That's what makes these headliners sag, so it's not so much a glue issue. It's just the old foam's just getting old and starting to turn to that orangey, crumbly type of sand material. And you can't spray glue onto that now. You're just going to wreck the board if you do. So yeah, stick away from adding any glue to repair the existing material. It doesn't work. If you're just looking for a short-term solution, like I suggested before, just use drawing pins or staples. Otherwise, yeah, you just got to really replace them with brand new material. So we'll go ahead now. We're going to remove all this old material, and then we're going to scrub this board clean and tidy, ready for brand new material, guys. So I'll just show you guys how to take off that rear dome light as well. This one has actually got quite messy and nasty at the back here because someone's added their own glue and they got overspray on the actual plastic itself. So you just got to clean that all off. It's all this overspray of glue, and even that board there where you got the glue added, you know, the foam itself is going to brush off really easy, but where someone's sprayed their own glue, you may have to bring out an orbital sander to try to bring this board down to a clean surface. And not all boards can withstand a lot of sanding, so some boards you cannot do it at all, which then would leave you to try to get rid of that nasty uneven surface where they've added glue. So you might have to either recover twice, so one layer of material, another layer of material over the top, which is you're starting to move into more materials there, and it's going to cost you more to do the job. But yeah, the other way is like get a new board to replace it. So that's why I say, guys, don't add your own glue. There's so many things you can run into. These little tape wires, you can see how they're quite brittle. So when you're doing the whole recovery stage, just be careful of where you're positioning this board on, say, your bench, and moving it around, because it might snag itself on a corner of a bench and then break one of those wires. So keep that in mind as well. But we're going to do a two-part series to this video, I think, because it's actually quite long, because there's more involved in the removal and the reinstall stages. So yeah, we're just going to load up part 1, which is going to be the removal, and then we'll load up part 2, which will be the reinstall. We've done several videos about how to recover most headliners, so on our channel there's a few good videos out there now where you can see exactly the process that's involved in the recovery stage. So yeah, just check through the description. We will have some links there for you guys to follow along on some of our best videos voted by our viewers, and ones that we recommend as well. But you can see, yeah, you just need a straw brush, or just, you can see how this foam's ready to come off anyway. But yeah, just get a straw brush it off the old foam, and that will bring it to a nice, tidy, clean finish, ready for brand new material. So the board will look clean and tidy like this one here. And we use the orbital sander as well to bring it down to a clean finish. So on these Volkswagen Jettas, they do have like these raised sections on the board. I think it's from where the manufacturer actually made these boards. So we don't really like the look of that, so we're just going to try to bring it down to a nice flat clean surface with the orbital sander. Now you might not be able to use this on all boards because depending on how many lines and raised bumps you have got in the back section, but we've only got one, so we're just going to bring it down to a flat clean surface, spray a bit of our glue, the high temperature spray adhesive, and then we're going to use a cloth tape just to give it a nice clean finish. So just one layer over the top in the middle there. That way when the brand new material goes over the top, it doesn't kind of mimic the little, you know, the imperfection in the board itself. So it just gives it a bit more extra strength and also hides more imperfections just by doing that. So this one's good to be recovered in brand new material. So the material that we use today, guys, is the number 8 Thorn material, which will be updated on our site very soon. So if it's not updated by the time this video gets uploaded and you want to purchase some, just make sure, just purchase say number 6 Light Oyster, which is very close, and then just leave a comment in the buyer to seller section and just let us know that you want Thorn color. Just do your measurements as well, because we haven't got any saved measurements for these ones. So when you do measure them up, just make sure you don't measure just from the middle sections, because you have got that long rear back C section there that you've got to include. And when you do measure them up, just make sure you give yourself at least a couple of inches overhang either side as well. So this one did have the sunroof, so for a sunroof model, if you did need to recover the sunroof as well, you would need about 0.5 meters for that one, but we didn't need to do that. It was actually in really good condition, and you can see how it really coloured matched to the sunroof that we left alone, and also our material colour matches really well to the sun visors and all the plastic components and even the pillars as well. So the job turned out really good. We've had this one sitting in the sun for just about half an hour just to let it sit there and bake and let any imperfections and creases come out of the material. We've also gone around with the upholstery skewer as well, tidied it all up, done some fabric cleaning, just made sure it's all ready and ideal for a handover. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and subscribe to help our channel grow, and take a scroll through our description below, because that's where any of our additional content and updated info will be kept, and there will be links to all of our products and recommendations there too. All right, see you on the next one.